All right, everybody, we're back. Episode
All
21,
right,
season one. Let's do this thing.
we're back in the saddle.
Football just doesn't want to go away, Nick.
No, no, it doesn't. As they say in Texas, we've got two sports: football and spring football.
Right, right. And they're probably gonna be they're not gonna be saying that in Alabama, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
So Nick quits. We had talked about this a little bit toward the end of the year, who we thought was, on the verge. He's 72 years old. He's out, and they go and get Kalen DeBoer from Washington.
Right,
104-12 as a head coach.
right.
I don't think they could get a better candidate than him.
Yeah, I think it was either him or Dan Lanning, and I guess Dan Lanning in Oregon, he has all that Phil Knight money
Yeah.
holding him in place there. So,
Yeah.
but that
That's
was
what I
that.
figured. I didn't think he was coming. I
Right,
didn't. Because I'm
right,
not sure it's not a parallel job or a vertical move for a horizontal move for Lanning to Bama, because I think Bama's a better program than Oregon, right? Historically. But
right,
I do think in today's world, in today's college football, money's king, man. I don't know what
right,
to tell you. You need
right.
to have cash. And Bama
Yeah,
has cash, obviously. They got an unbelievable alumni, but they don't have Nike money,
right.
and Phil Knight is willing to spend whatever it takes. And I think he looked at that and said, What am I doing here? This is a lateral move for me. If not a little bit down move because of the money situation, the nil and the transfer,
Right.
all that shit that's going on, the constant recruiting, which basically ran Nick out of a job, right? He retired because he was sick of re-recruiting the players he recruited earlier, right? That's what he said.
I think that's right. I think that's pretty perceptive by you. I think that's
Yeah.
correct.
He was tired, man. I don't blame him. At 72, you're like, you get a guy, you
Right.
develop him, and then he looks to leave after a year or two, and you're like, what are you doing? He's like, well, I want to play. And then he says to him, well, you're at Bama. You're going to play.
Right.
When you play, you're going to be a first round pick. So you just got to be patient. And they're like, screw you, I'm out of here. And you're not paying me enough. Where another school like Free Shoes will offer me all this money. By the way, Free Shoes is all over the Bama carcass. 28 Bama players in the portal, and Free Shoes has got four of them already. Norvell's stroking the check, which they wanted Norvell, by the way.
Yeah,
They,
I didn't get. I mean, I guess he's a guy. I guess he's from the South and Kalen DeBoer is not, but I would have taken Kalen DeBoer
yeah,
over Norvell.
I agree. I agree. I mean, I think what DeVore did at UW in 2 years to get to a national championship game is pretty remarkable. I mean, he had
Right.
some good players, but he patched that shit together, right? I mean, it was
Right.
It was a little bit of this, get a Penix, get
Right.
Oduze, and now those guys are great. And everyone's like, "Oh my, they're so good." Well, they weren't great when they showed up there. He made them great,
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know?
Washington in 2021 was terrible.
Yeah.
They were horrible because I remember because I used to bet on
Of course you did.
them.
If you were a betting man, which you are,
Which I am.
you bet on Washington. Of course you did.
Right.
And then there's 20 Washington players in the portal. So, the people leave, man. That's what they're doing. They get out because they don't want to deal with, I guess they don't want to deal with uh, new
A new
coaches,
coach. Yeah.
new agendas. And the Bama guys leaving, man. I really think the board, they're doing him a disjustice. And they look at his track record, 104-12. I don't care where you coached.
Right.
104-12 is getting after it.
Right.
That's a winning guy. That's a guy, all he knows is winning, right?
Right.
And 25-2 at Washington. 25-3, I'm sorry. 25-3 at Washington. That's pretty good, right? 25 and
That's a
3.
little better than pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um, so the portal opened up. Guys got 30 days now from any school where a coach leaves. It reopens. So these guys are all fleeing.
Right.
I like the fact that some of these coaches who were mentioned have parlayed this into a little job security, a little raise.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, little raise. In some cases, a bit, there's no such thing as a little raise in college football. It's all the big raise.
Norvell got new 8 years added to his contract at like 100 million. Lanning got a new contract. Um,
Right.
there was one, and Sarkisian got a new contract at Texas. All the guys who were Loxley was I put Loxley in as a rumor to go to Bama, but I don't think he ever interviewed for it. And I don't think he got a new contract at Maryland. But it was nice that he was brought up though by some of the Bama guys, which was good. But they just said all this. I've been listening to a lot of radio about this and YouTubes about what's going on with Bama,
Right.
and all the guys were like, "Lastly, he's all he's done is gone 7-5. He's barely over 500. We're not hiring him."
Yeah.
So I think he was mentioned in it, but there was just no way, man. I mean, they needed somebody more high profile and more winning, right? And Kalen DeBoer, I mean, I don't think they could do better than him, right?
No, I don't think so either. I
Maybe
mean, it just shows you how much it's changed. I mean, before Saban got there, it was in this century, it was Mike DuBose,
bad,
uh, Dennis Francione,
bad,
Mike Shula.
right? Bad. Remember
Yeah,
Mike Pierce too, or the Pierce guy, the Price. Wasn't there like a
Mike
Price
Price. Yeah, yeah,
who
yeah,
lasted
Mike
a
Price.
week, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Had a
They
little
were like,
problem
Coach,
with
you
his
can't.
resume.
Yeah,
Little
yeah,
resume
yeah,
and expense accounts with the hookers, right? Did he
yeah.
have a prostitution thing?
No,
Or
wasn't it? He was going to all the strip bars around Tuscaloosa, and they were like, "Coach, come
during
on, take it
recruiting
easy."
trips, right?
Yeah,
So he lasted a week in Tuscaloosa. So they didn't really do their due diligence on him.
yeah,
So right before Saban got there, they were kind of shitty for like 10 years, man.
yeah.
So I think they got a good hire. They don't think they did. I've been listening to all the pundits, all the fans. They're more upset that everyone's left. That the players are 28 of them are gone, and a lot of them were starters. I mean, it wasn't like the scrubs are leaving; the starters are leaving.
Right, right,
And Norvell's coming in, man. Georgia's come in. Georgia hired their secondaries coach, which is the guy who recruited all their good DBs. Because Bama's known as DBU.
right.
Guy's name T. Rob Taverian
Robinson, yeah,
Robinson. Yeah.
yeah,
So he freaking Kirby Smart smelled blood in the water. Hired him literally like the day Saban was saying goodbye as a co-defensive coach. And then they got their three like DBs who were in the portal. They got all three of them. They came to Georgia. The Georgia secondary is going to be stout next year. No one's going to be able to throw on them. Um, and then
Oh yeah,
Judd,
I saw today that Caleb Downs, the freshman, is leaving.
he's gone and he's at Georgia. He's going to Georgia. He's done.
Oh, he is?
He's done to Georgia. Yeah, yeah,
Wow,
yeah. Um, so
this is
Judd,
getting real serious for January.
yeah. Oh hell yeah. Judd Fish from Arizona, who we loved what he did at
Right,
Arizona, right?
right,
To Washington. And he's got a problem with himself as well, keeping guys there, right? Because they were pretty strong and deep. He's going to have to rebuild that thing. It's just not going to happen overnight for him, even though he obviously knows how to coach, man, right? You win at
right,
Arizona. No one wins at Arizona. Not even Rich Rod won there.
right,
Um,
right.
so what do you think about him going there?
I think he took over the Arizona program from Kevin Sumlin, and it was not in good shape at all. And it took him I think this is his third year in 2021, 22, 23 was his third year. And not only but they were like a physical team. I mean, they were getting beat by Oklahoma in the bowl game. And then they just started pummeling pummeling Oklahoma. They were just taking it to them. And they're very tough, very physical. They play everybody hard. And yeah, it's a great hire for up in Seattle for the Huskies.
Yep, I agree. I thought he'd wait for the Florida job to open up, and he may. It may open up next year, as we've talked about.
Right,
I'm surprised he's still there, but that may
right,
open up next year if they don't start winning, and maybe he goes back there then.
right.
The dominoes haven't. I thought there'd be more dominoes falling with Nick leaving, but it doesn't look like that's happening. So just a few pieces. It looks like Harbaugh's leaving Michigan, right? He's interviewing for the Chargers.
Yeah,
I think he's going to interview for the Redskin job. I think he's going to interview for the Falcons job. I mean, he's on his way to the pros. And then the last thing, Cam Ward, who we loved at Washington
right,
State, right, this year, real high level quarterback, right?
right.
Um, he went to the portal because their coach left, right? Or they got left out of the pack too, I guess. They got left to the pack. They
Yeah,
went to the
exactly. It's
portal.
exactly right. They were left holding the bag.
Right. So he went to the portal and then he said, screw this. He really wanted to go to Florida State. I guess they couldn't work out a financial view. So I'm turning pro. And then the pro thing, Miami came back and sweetened the pot. Now he's at the U. So the
Yeah,
U's picked up 2 quarterbacks in the last week. And Leah Tagovailoa, who was going to go there, is now going pro because he couldn't get the waiver, the 6-year waiver as a I guess a 6-year college player. He couldn't get that waiver, so he declared for the draft this week as well. So I think Cam Ward is pretty good, man. I mean, I really
oh
like.
yeah,
I think he's going to really help the Miami. I mean, I was down in Miami last week, talked to some guys down there about the team, and they said Cristobal can really bring in players, but they're really having doubts about his coaching ability. About whether I actually played golf with a guy who graduated from Columbus a couple years after me when I graduated from Killian, and he knows Cristobal well, and he had doubts, and he's like one of his boys, and
yeah,
because Cristobal went to Columbus also.
right.
Um, so we'll see what happens, man. I mean, it's next year is going to be very interesting, right? What happens with Bama? What happens with Miami? What happens with Florida State? Georgia looks like if I was a betting man, which I am,
Which you are.
I would drop a few dollars on Georgia to win the national title right now,
All right,
unless Kirby leaves. But I don't think he's going to leave now because he just reloaded. That's
right.
why I would my preseason right now, way too early prediction. Georgia Bulldogs win the national title next.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy because we're like more than 7 months away from the season.
Yeah, but you already know what's going on, Nick.
Yeah,
You see the player
yeah,
movement. You see who's
right,
getting the players, who isn't.
right.
I like them playing Ohio State in the final game. Ohio State's in
Right.
there as well. I think they've done a good job of reloading. The last bit of news that's not on our recap, but I saw was the kid Will Rogers transferred to Washington, right, to play
That's
for
right,
Jalen, and now he went back in the portal. He's transferring again,
right, right,
which is crazy time, right? I mean, these
right,
guys. I mean, I'm not gonna say where's your loyalty because obviously no one has any loyalty anymore. But Jesus Christ, he didn't even give Judd Fish an opportunity to try to re-recruit him or talk to him. Nothing. He's out,
right.
gone. All right. So in the portal right now, 2,169 committed guys in the portal. Out of it, 1,072, which is 49% are committed to a new school. So that number, remember, it was sitting around 30%, starting to crunch down a little bit, which is good. I want to see it be 100%. I don't think that'll ever happen, but it'd be nice if everyone has a spot. And then 81 players withdrew and went back to school. That's 3.73%. So it's still a ton of guys. They're saying spring, when the portal opens back up, is going to be insane. When
Yeah,
guys fight for spots and then they realize they're second stringers, then they look for other places to play. And last year it was 6,600 guys were in the portal. So I expect that 2,100 number to really go up in the springtime. Um, any thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, I don't, I guess it opens up in March, I guess around spring practice or April.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's just gonna be a free-for-all. I mean, because there's not a lot of time and coaches are gonna have a shopping list of what they wanna, what positions they wanna fortify. And it's just gonna be a mad bidding war. It's gonna be crazy.
That's what it is. It is a shopping list. Like
Yeah,
after spring ball, they'll know, okay, we're weak at corner, we're weak at right tackle, we're weak at
right,
center, right? They'll know what they're weak at.
right,
If they don't know already.
right,
So on a personal front, like Maryland, I know they've brought in 3 linemen. They lost their whole offensive line. They brought in 3 linemen who are going to be first day starters, right?
right.
Good guys. One guy from Georgia, a guy from Purdue, and the third guy is from a small FCS college who had signed with Penn State, and then he he decommitted before committing and signed with Maryland. I don't know what happened there. Something happened there. Did you hear one last thing also about the
Sure. No.
crazy the Isaiah Bond, the
Oh, yeah, the guy who caught the touchdown against Auburn.
right, the wide receiver who went into the portal, signed with Texas, was seen driving on the campus the first day of class this week in a Lamborghini.
No money like oil money.
Lambo, the Lambo. So I thought that was kind of cute. All right.
Yeah.
So our college football basketball now, we obviously are regressing.
Right.
Picked 18 games. You were 6-12. Not a good week for you, Nikki. Sorry.
All right.
I was 8-10. Not a good week for me. And our guest picker, Butch, who thought he would do terrible, was 11-7. So he had a pretty good week. So let's go through the picks real quick.
Okay.
Tennessee versus Georgia, 6-point favorite. They beat them right on the number. So that was a push.
Right.
So that's a good line by FP, by the way. That's
Right. Right. Very
Kentucky.
nice. Nicely done.
Kentucky 4-point favorite versus A&M at A&M. We all thought that would be a bit of a problem for Kentucky. I think you're the only one that picked A&M on that because of the travel and all that going out to College Station. A&M beat them in overtime. I really like this Kentucky team. I don't know if you seen them play.
Not really. Have not.
They're very good, man. Very athletic, very long, good shooting team. I think they're a sleeper for the Final Four and maybe to win the championship this year. Um, Georgia versus South Carolina. Georgia beat them by 5. On the road to in South Carolina in Columbia. It's a nice win for Georgia. This is the game I want to spend a little time on. UCLA, Utah. Me and you both pick UCLA thinking they're going to get out of their own way. No. Me and Butch pick UCLA. You pick Utah. Yep, you pick Utah. They beat UCLA by 46 points
Yeah. Yeah.
in Salt Lake.
Yeah.
46 points. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the UCLA team lose by 46 points in a long time, man.
Yeah. Not in our, not in like 30 years or more.
What
I
is
mean,
that about? Is Mick Cronin just called it a night or what?
no, I mean, he's a good coach. Maybe I'm not really sure because I think that, we saw them play last year in College Park, and so a lot of those guys are back. Not all of them, but I don't get it. I mean, I have to, watch the tape and maybe rewatch it to figure out what happened.
I mean, you lose by 46 to Utah. Utah's not, they're not Kentucky. They're not
Right,
UNC. They're good,
right,
but they're not they're not like a blue blood every top 10 every year kind of team.
right.
I mean, I was shocked by this. I had to look at that a couple times just to make sure I was reading it right, but that was a major beatdown. UCLA, Mick Cronin might have to go on our suicide watch or our firing watch, don't you think? I think he
Yeah,
might be out at UCLA, so we'll have to start finding candidates for that job.
right.
I think he might be done. Arizona State versus Washington. UW won big there by 15. It's a nice win. The Johnnies at Creighton. Creighton was a 6-point favorite. The Johnnies played them to the wire again. Patino's got him playing tough, Nick. They're not winning a lot of these games. I don't think they have enough dudes. But man, if he starts getting some players,
Forget it.
they're going to be really good, really
Right.
good. They covered obviously. Villanova versus Marquette, 5-point favorite. Marquette, man, they're so much better in Milwaukee than they are anywhere else, right? They play 1,000 times better. I love their coach, Shaka Smart. Love to see him roaming the sidelines in College Park, actually. I think he'd be a really good hire for us.
All right.
Um, Oklahoma, the usual, versus Kansas, 5.5 points. They got throttled by 12. I mean, they haven't been good since Wayman Tisdale, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
they're
Billy
just
Tubbs and that crew.
yeah, they're just pretenders. They broke the top 10. Everyone was going crazy, and I could see them totally failing here on the Big 12 coming down the stretch. Um, this is a pick that I picked. I liked West Virginia. So did you. You said the travel for Texas would be beefy. Into Morgantown and they beat them. They're tough in
Yeah.
Morgantown. I've been to a game there. It's a wild atmosphere, man. Just like the football games. It's wild there. And they
Wild, wonderful West Virginia.
is wild and wonderful. Houston broke they were ranked number 2, took 2 L's in the same week. Lost to TCU and lost to Iowa State. The TCU Horned Frogs, Jamie Dixon, love him. Wanted Maryland to hire him as well. The old Pitt coach, but a TCU alum, so he went back home, which I always respect when they do that. They're a pretty good team, TCU. And then the Maryland-Michigan game, I was at that game. Just two really bad teams. Michigan stinks just a little bit worse than we do. We beat them 64-57, covered. The spread had moved from the 2 to 5.5 before the game time. So it moved 3.5 points the day of the
Oh,
game.
wow. That's a big jump.
Big jump, money on Maryland, obviously, heavy money on the Terps, and they still covered. They were losing pretty much most of that game, and they came back and closed them out at the end. Michigan State, Illinois, 2.5-point favorite. Illinois, they barely beat Michigan State, and then they lost to Maryland or later in the week, which, I mean, I'm not sure how that happened, but we played pretty well. Did you watch any of that Maryland Illinois
I
game?
I did not.
Yeah, it was on Sunday.
On Monday or
On Sunday.
Sunday?
Sunday, we played
Yeah.
them tough. Purdue, Indiana. Purdue just killed them in Bloomington. I've been to Bloomington. It's a tough place to play, man. That Purdue team, I think they play to their competition, man. When they're playing lesser teams, they play lesser. When they're playing better teams, they play better. Teams
Right.
just sometimes don't like that. Wake Forest beat UVA pretty badly by 19. Wake Forest is tough, Nick. They got some transfers. They got a pretty good team. That team might be
The
okay.
Demon Deacons.
Yeah, the Demon Deeks. Cuse Pitt. Cuse on the road won that one at Pittsburgh. I'm the only one who picked that. Miami at
Good pick.
Thank you. Miami at Tech. Butch the only one who picked that Miami would go in there and win. I thought they would lose in Blacksburg. But the U beat them. Miami's a pretty good team also. George Mason and George Washington, the Martin Luther King game.
I
GW,
saw this game. I was surprised that George Washington throttled them the way they did.
you did watch it?
Yeah.
How did it look? I mean, was there a good crowd there at GW?
Decent, a little bit of it. I couldn't really tell, on the court, GW beat them badly. I mean,
Okay.
worse than the 13-point final score.
Okay. Good. Then Memphis just blew out Wichita in Wichita. Butch is the only one who picked that as well. We both
Right.
thought Wichita would play better at home, but they
Right.
got throttled by 26 on the road. So in terms of upsets, I thought Maryland beating Illinois was huge. I mean, Illinois is ranked number 10. They were 13
Yeah, in Champaign-Urbana, definitely.
in Champaign. They were 9.5-point favorites. They were 12-3. I mean, Maryland's been pretty spotty this year, and they beat them pretty good, man. I mean, we pounded the ball inside, 52-27 in the paint, Maryland over Illinois. That's where we made our business. Then the Illinois coach at the end of the game, one of the assistants, I shouldn't say the head coach, one of the assistants wouldn't shake Julian Reese's hand,
Huh,
and they got into beef. Then they started
right,
screaming at each other and cursing at each other. It was really bad. I mean, I see it from Julian's point, but the coach should know better, right? I mean,
right. He's an
he's
easy
the
grown man.
authority figure, right?
Right.
Um, and then the other big loss or upset was Penn State beating Wisconsin. I'm shocked by that as well.
Yeah,
In state college, I've been to like 2 or 3 Maryland games there. It's a weird place to play, man. It's a tough place to play because there isn't a lot of people there. The people there are kind of loud, but they close off the upper deck and they got these like curtains up or whatever. It's just a weird place to play. And Wisconsin, they're really good, right? They had won 6 straight, ranked number 11 in the country. I think they were 8.5, 9.5 point favorites. They had no business losing that game to Penn State, but they did, And
right,
the Penn State coach, Mike Rhodes, or was it you or somebody told me he thinks they're going to be really good with him as the coach. Like he's a really good coach. So,
right.
um, have you ever been to Syracuse for a basketball game, Nick?
Syracuse?
Yeah.
Um, I've been for a football game, but not for a basketball game.
Yeah, I have been for a football game as well in the Carrier Dome, 1987 with Pat Riggin. Let's not talk about that weekend.
Yeah, it's cute. It's a family show.
Things happen with a freshman and Pat that we don't want to discuss right now, okay?
Right,
But fun place, good town. I would never go in the winter.
right.
That's just me though. It's
Yeah,
cold here in Maryland. I can imagine what it is up there in the Q's, right?
yeah,
But great fan base, very dependable. I mean, they've been, they haven't really won much recently. Jimmy Boeheim would not leave that job. They basically had to run him off, right?
right,
I mean, he was like dead set on staying. They finally told him he had to go. But he hired Adrian Audrey for
right,
coach,
right,
which is his assistant. He set him up, and I think he's going to do well there. He just needs to recruit some dudes.
right,
But a good job, good place to watch a game. I Good atmosphere, great town, a lot of good restaurants, good bars. It's a good
right,
college town.
right.
But I would never
But it's
go.
tough from November through March.
Yeah, 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 brutal. All right, we're ready to go this week to start picking some games, Nikki.
I think so, brother.
All right, let's do this thing, man. Memphis -5 in New Orleans at Tulane.
I'm gonna go with Tulane here.
Tulane. All right. And I'm gonna go with Memphis, man. I think they're pretty good this year.
Anthony Hardaway's team.
Yeah, it's Penny.
Right.
Louisville versus UNC. I'm gonna take UNC here. No, yeah, I'm gonna take UNC. I think Louisville's cooked, man. They're done. How about you?
11 is a big number, but I will also take UNC.
Yeah, 11 is a big number. And I think that number is going to be pretty accurate to what the real line is going to be.
Right.
Miami -5 at Syracuse. What do you think?
I'm gonna go with Adrian Autry's team. I'll go with the Orangemen.
And I will also go with Syracuse. I like the 5. I think they're gonna lose, but it's gonna be a close game.
Right.
Wake Forest at UNC. UNC favored by 5.5 in Chapel Hill.
I'll go with the Demon Deacons here.
And so will I.
Okay.
I like them possibly money line bet here.
Right. Okay.
Indiana at Wisconsin. Wisconsin a 4-point favorite. I am going to take Indiana there. getting the 4.
Boy, these are like two of the same teams.
They
I
are.
think Indiana's the play, yeah.
Okay. Um, two teams that have overachieved, obviously, Northwestern at Nebraska. Nebraska's a 2-point favorite. What do you think?
Chris Collins, Northwestern Wildcats. He's a nice coach. Um, this might be a pass.
There's no passes.
But
Give me a team.
I'll take the Wildcats.
All right, and I will take Nebraska. I think they're really good at home. Supposedly great place to watch a college basketball game. A really good barn. Michigan State at Maryland. Maryland a 4-point favorite against Michigan State. I will take the Terps there to beat them.
You like the Terps?
I do. I think Michigan State's a little. They're young, man. They got some talent, but they're young and they're making young mistakes. Their freshmen are kind of goofy.
I'll take Michigan State with the 4 points.
Okay. Texas Tech, who's had a really nice year at Houston. Houston's a 5-point favorite. I'm gonna go with the Cougars at home.
Okay, I'm gonna go. It's a long flight from Lubbock to Houston, but I'm gonna take the Red Raiders of Texas Tech.
TT.
TT,
Baylor,
exactly.
4-point favorite against a kind of a reeling Texas Longhorn team.
Yeah. Uh Maybe
That's
Texas can right the ship. I'll take the Longhorns +4.
okay. I'm gonna go with Baylor.
Okay.
That Scott Drew can really coach, can he?
Yeah.
I'd love to see him on the Maryland sideline. That guy can really get after it. TCU, 6-point favorite in Stillwater. I'm gonna go with Okie at home.
I agree with that. I think that's the Cowboys.
Yep. Marquette, 3-point favorite against St. John's at MSG.
You know what? I'm gonna borrow from what you said about Rick Pitino's, rounding the team into shape and take the Red Storm +3.
Wow. You think they beat him there, huh?
Yeah.
Whew.
What do you think, Fernando?
I will also take them at
All
home.
right.
I think Marquette, they lost one of their best players. Was it Cam Jones who's out for the season?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's a problem because he was one
Right.
of their top scorers. UConn, 5-point favorite at Vanilla Nova. I'm gonna take UConn.
Okay.
What do you think in Philly?
I think that's the play too. I'll agree with that.
Okay,
They're
great.
number one in the country right now.
Yeah, Creighton -4 versus Seton Hall in New Jersey at the Prudential Center.
Uh, I'm gonna go with Seton Hall, just the distance, and the Pirates are a pretty good team.
I will take Creighton there.
Okay.
UCLA versus Arizona -14. I'm gonna take Arizona and lay the 14.
Yeah,
I
it's
can't trust
crazy, right?
UCLA
But
right
yeah,
now. Same.
yeah. In Tucson, I'll take the Wildcats -14.
Alabama versus Tennessee. Tennessee -6 in Knoxville.
I'm gonna go with the Roll Tide. I'm gonna go with Alabama.
And I'll go with Tennessee.
All right.
And then hang on. Last pick, Ole Miss versus Auburn. Auburn's a 4-point favorite. And I'll take Ole Miss.
I will agree with you there. The Rebels.
Okay. All right, very good, Nikki.
Uh,
So now, I mean, even the news in football, I think is going to start slowing down, right? Unless some more dominoes fall on the coaching front.
Man, let's hope so, geez.
Yeah,
Oof.
college basketball is now in full effect now, right? I mean,
Right,
they're going. It really is going to be wide open. I think March Madness this year, based on the
yeah,
teams and what's going on. It's a lot of parity, man. I mean, you got Maryland, who's 10-6, kind of floundering, beating a top 10 team in Illinois. You got Penn State, who's like 8-8, beating a top 11th ranked Wisconsin, right? I mean, these
right.
upsets are on TCU beating, knocking out Houston. I mean, there was just upsets all over the place. And all that shows me is March Madness is going to be the same kind of deal, right? I mean, it's going
Right,
to,
yeah, it's gonna be wide, it's gonna be wide open, but we got 2 months from today, basically. A little less than 2 months from today.
no, it's usually around St. Patrick's Day. So 2 months from
Yeah,
today is when it starts. Yeah.
yeah,
And, if I had to look at it right now, I really like Kentucky. I like, I like, I like Purdue. They scare me though, because they're not,
right.
they play their competition.
Well, maybe the thing with Purdue is they've got to get their way through they've got to fight their way through the opening weekend. If they
Yeah,
do that, they'll be okay.
yeah. When the competition is as stiff.
Right.
I like as a dark horse, I like Wake Forest as a dark horse. I like Memphis as a dark horse.
All right.
Um, you know, I like Baylor, obviously, but they're a top 10 team. Connecticut, I think, is a strong favorite to be back in the Final Four. I mean, they're really stout.
Right.
Things are ramping up, man.
Right.
Anything other things you want to catch up on, Nick?
I can't think of anything. We covered, all the football stuff going on.
Yeah,
Who do you think takes over for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan? Sharon Moore?
I think so. And that would be a good
Okay.
hire. That would be a
Yeah.
smart hire. Keeps all the kids in there. They all like him, obviously. He coached him for 6 games last year. He knows the program.
Right.
He knows who's recording all the other teams, practices and games.
Right.
I mean, he's
Right.
part of the culture, right? So
Right.
that would be the only coach that I think makes sense, but you never know, man. I mean, they're a big program, national champs. They could go
Right.
after big fish also, right? And then those
Right.
dominoes start to fall, right?
Right. Right.
Um, but Sharon Moore would not be a big fish, but he's an inside guy.
And a good coach. Looks like a pretty good coach.
Yeah, yeah, a very good coach. I mean, guys like Ryan Day, who's 58-7 and catching flack at Ohio State, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's crazy.
You guys want to fire him? We'll take him. Maryland will
Yeah.
take him right now. Right now, sign up.
Right.
We'll take him used, all beat up. We'll take him just the way he is, man. I am interested to see how Zignetti's going to do at Indiana, because he had a lot of movement in the portal as well. They lost a bunch of guys, and he brought in a bunch of guys. That's the problem with Bama. They've lost a bunch of guys, but they've only brought in 3 guys out of the portal. And I'm not
Right.
even sure they still commit, because they committed to Nick, not to DeBoer. Um, so hopefully he's recruiting. I mean, because that's the lifeline, right? We all know recruiting is where it's at. You got to
Right.
recruit. So we'll see how that shakes out, man. But I think he's a great hire. I think it's going to be a disaster, because the Bama fans are just going to wear him out. Because
Right.
Washington, I mean, it's a nice job, and they probably had some pressure on him, but it's nothing like the pressure cooker of Tuscaloosa, right?
Yeah. No.
Not
It's
even
nothing
close.
like having a police escort everywhere and,
Yeah,
you're
not
the most important person in the state.
right in the state,
Yeah.
right. So I think he's going to fail there, unfortunately. So I'm going to go on the record saying he's going to fail. Even though his record shows that he's never failed anywhere,
Right.
because I don't think they're going to give him a chance to succeed, because it's going to take a few years to rebuild the pipeline.
Right.
Um, but we'll see what happens, man. All right.
Right.
Talk to you, Nikki. See you, man.
Okay. Take care. See you. Episode 21, Down the Hatch.
Done. See you. Bye bye.
See you, brother.